The security camera footage would haunt investigators for years. One moment, a child stood at the end of a driveway in broad daylight. 34 seconds later, he was gone. No screams, no struggle, just empty pavement where a boy had been. 7 families across America would come to know this same nightmare. 7 children, 7 impossible disappearances, and a pattern so precise, so chilling, that even the FBI couldn't explain it. It started on a Saturday afternoon in June, the kind of day when church families plan barbecues and kids ride bikes until the streetlights flicker on. In a quiet suburb outside Minneapolis, Minnesota, where neighbors still waved from porches and parents let their children play outside without fear, a mother stood at her kitchen sink washing dishes from lunch. Through the window she could see her son walking down the driveway. He was 12 years old, responsible, the kind of boy who helped elderly neighbors carry groceries and never missed Sunday school. He'd asked if he could check the mail. She'd said yes. She looked down at the soapy water in her hands, looked back up. He was gone. She told herself he'd walked back inside through the side door. But something in her chest tightened. Mother's no. She dried her hands and called his name. No answer. She walked outside, still calling. The mailbox door hung open. Envelopes lay scattered across the pavement. One had blown into the street. Her son's sneakers had left prints in the dirt near the curb, but there were no other footprints, no tire marks, no sign of where he'd gone. What no one noticed in that first terrible minute was how quiet the street had become. Not a single bird sang, not a single car passed. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. She dialed 911 at 7 minutes past noon. Her voice shook as she tried to explain what made no sense. My son was right there. I only looked away for a moment. He's gone. The dispatcher kept her on the line, asking questions she couldn't answer. Had he run away before? No, never. Was there a custody dispute? No, we're a happy family. Did she see anyone suspicious? No one. Nothing. He was just there, and then he wasn't. Police arrived within 8 minutes. By then, neighbors had begun emerging from their homes, drawn by the sound of a mother's panic. One was a retired schoolteacher who'd lived on that street for 38 years. She'd been sitting on her front porch reading her Bible. She hadn't seen a thing. Another was a veteran who'd served in Korea, a man known for his sharp memory and attention to detail. He'd been in his garage directly across the street, organizing tools with the door wide open. He'd seen the boy walk to the mailbox. Then something strange happened. But that wasn't the most disturbing part. The veteran described it carefully to police, knowing how it would sound. He saw what looked like heat rising from asphalt on a summer day, that shimmering distortion in the air, except it was only 68 degrees outside. Cool for June. No reason for heat waves. The shimmer appeared between him and the boy, lasted maybe 3 or 4 seconds. He blinked, thinking his eyes were playing tricks. When he looked again, the boy was gone. He'd assumed the child had simply gone back inside. He hadn't thought to call out or investigate. Why would he? Kids ran in and out of houses all day long. Officers spread out across the neighborhood. They knocked on every door. They searched every yard, every shed, every vehicle. A K-9 unit arrived from the county sheriff's office. The dogs picked up the boy's scent immediately. They followed it down the driveway, past the mailbox, to the edge of the street. And there the scent simply ended. Not faded, not scattered. Ended. As if the child had evaporated into thin air. The handler had worked search and rescue for 19 years. He'd never seen anything like it. By evening, the FBI had been called. An Amber Alert went out across 3 states. The boy's face appeared on highway signs and gas station televisions. Tips poured in, none led anywhere. Investigators reviewed security footage from every camera within a 2-mile radius. What they found made no sense. Investigators would later realize that every camera pointed toward that street had malfunctioned at the exact same time. A doorbell camera belonging to the elderly schoolteacher had a clear view of the mailbox. The footage showed the boy walking down his driveway at 7 minutes and 23 seconds past noon. He bent down to gather the mail. At 7 minutes and 41 seconds past noon, the screen filled with static. Pure interference, like an old television losing its signal. The static lasted exactly 34 seconds. When the image returned at 8 minutes and 15 seconds past noon, the street was empty. Mail lay scattered on the ground. The boy had vanished. Digital forensics experts examined the file. There was no evidence of tampering, no signs of editing or manipulation. The interference had occurred in real time, recorded by the camera as it happened. But what could cause that kind of disruption? Electromagnetic pulse, one expert suggested. But that would require military-grade equipment, and it would have affected every electronic device in the area. Nothing else had been disrupted. Not phones, not computers, not other cameras just a few houses away. Only the ones with a direct line of sight to that specific spot. If you're watching this and you remember hearing about this case, or if something about this story feels familiar, I want you to do me a favor. Leave a comment below telling me what you remember. Share this video with someone who follows true crime. And please hit that subscribe button because what I'm about to tell you next connects to 6 other families who experienced the exact same nightmare. And the pattern is something investigators still can't explain. The boy's mother couldn't sleep. She sat in her son's room night after night, holding his trumpet, the one he'd played in the school band. He'd wanted to be an astronomer, had star charts pinned to his walls and a telescope by his window. He'd asked his father just that morning if they could go camping at a national park, somewhere dark enough to see the Milky Way. His father had said yes. They'd planned the trip for late July. Now his father sat in the garage staring at camping gear they'd never use, trying to understand how he could lose his son in his own driveway in the middle of the day. The boy's younger sister, only 8 years old, asked questions no one could answer. Where did he go? Is he scared? Is he coming home? Their pastor came to pray with the family. Their church held vigils. Hundreds of people searched the woods and fields surrounding the neighborhood. They found nothing. It was as if the earth had opened up and swallowed the child whole. 6 months passed. The case went cold. The FBI maintained it was an abduction, likely involving multiple perpetrators with sophisticated planning. But there was no evidence, no witnesses, no leads. The family appeared on national television, pleading for information. The mother's face became a symbol of every parent's worst fear. She started a foundation in her son's name. She refused to give up. Even when investigators privately told her the chances of finding him alive had dropped to nearly 0. Then, in the quiet corners of the internet, people started asking questions. A retired librarian in Arizona was researching her own family's tragedy when she noticed something odd. Her niece had disappeared 8 years earlier under circumstances that felt too similar to ignore. The girl had been 10 years old. She'd vanished while retrieving a soccer ball from the front yard at 3 minutes past noon on an October afternoon. There'd been a witness. A neighbor who reported seeing a strange shimmer in the air, like heat waves, even though it was only 70 degrees. A trail camera in the woods nearby had captured interference at the exact time of the disappearance. 38 seconds of static, then nothing. Neighbors would never forget the sound of that mother screaming. The librarian posted about the similarities on a forum dedicated to missing children cases. Within days, others began connecting dots that law enforcement had missed. The cases had occurred in different states, different years, handled by different agencies. No one had linked them because why would they? But when you laid them out side by side, the pattern became impossible to ignore. A 13-year-old boy in North Carolina disappeared taking out the trash at noon. Strange Shimmer reported. Security footage showed interference. A 9-year-old girl in Colorado vanished checking the mail at 5 minutes past noon. Multiple cameras malfunctioned simultaneously. Witness described heat-like distortion in the air. A 14-year-old boy in New Mexico disappeared getting the newspaper from the driveway at 2 minutes before noon on a cold March morning. Neighbors reported seeing heat waves when the temperature was 43 degrees. No evidence, no leads. An 11-year-old girl in Washington state vanished bringing in groceries from the car at 1 minute past noon. Doorbell camera failed during the exact time frame. No trace. What no one noticed until someone mapped the locations was that every single disappearance occurred within 500 miles of a former military research facility. The facilities dated back to the Cold War. Most had been decommissioned in the 1980s and 90s. But declassified documents revealed something disturbing. Between 1958 and 1967, the Department of Defense had conducted atmospheric testing related to electromagnetic field disruption. The goal was to interfere with enemy radar and communications. Some experiments involved generating localized electromagnetic pulses strong enough to disable electronics within a specific radius. In 2023, a former Air Force technician came forward under condition of anonymity. He'd worked at one of these facilities in the early 1970s. He described equipment that could create what he called controlled EM bursts. The technology was experimental, dangerous. It was supposed to have been dismantled decades ago. But he wasn't certain it had been. He suggested that residual effects, or equipment left behind and degraded over time, could theoretically cause unpredictable electromagnetic phenomena, especially if conditions aligned in specific ways. The government denied any connection. Officially, there was no link between the disappearances and any military testing, past or present. But that wasn't the most disturbing part. Every disappearance happened at noon, or within 5 minutes of it. Every child was alone performing a routine outdoor task. Every incident involved visual distortions reported by witnesses. Every case had surveillance anomalies that defied explanation. And in every case, the children simply ceased to exist. No bodies, no evidence of foul play, no forensic trace. It was as if they'd been erased. Physicists were consulted. One explained carefully that quantum mechanics allowed for possibilities most people found uncomfortable. Anomalies in electromagnetic fields, if intense enough, could theoretically interact with matter in ways science didn't fully understand. She stressed that this was speculation, but she couldn't rule it out entirely. Rare events, she said, were still possible events. The boy's mother learned about the other families. She reached out to them, one by one. They formed a network of grief and determination. 7 families, 7 children, 7 unanswered questions. They pushed for a federal task force. They demanded answers. Some in the group believed their children had been taken by human traffickers using advanced technology. Others thought the truth was stranger, more terrifying, something that couldn't be stopped because it wasn't fully understood. In June of 2021, it happened again. A 12-year-old boy in New Mexico disappeared at noon while checking the mail. Same shimmer, same interference on cameras, same impossible absence of evidence. In September of 2023, a 10-year-old girl in Arizona vanished at 4 minutes past noon while watering plants in the front yard. Witnesses reported heat distortion. Electronics malfunctioned. She was gone. 9 children now. 9 families trapped in the same nightmare. If you're still watching, I need you to understand something. These aren't just stories. These are real families who go to bed every night, not knowing where their children are. If this case disturbs you, if it makes you think, if it makes you want answers, then please hit that like button. It helps this story. It reach people who might know something. It helps keep these cases in the public eye. And subscribe to this channel because there are too many cases like this that get forgotten. Don't let these families be forgotten. The boy from Minnesota would be 17 now. His sister is 13. She's in therapy, but she's doing well in school. She still has dreams about her brother. In the dreams, he's in a white room with no doors. He's trying to tell her something, but she can't hear him. She draws the same symbol over and over, something she says she sees in the dreams, a circle with lines radiating outward, like a sun or a burst of energy. She doesn't know what it means. Investigators found that same symbol carved into a tree near one of the other disappearance sites and painted on a rock formation near another. No one knows who put them there or when or why. The boy's mother still lives in the same house. She keeps his room exactly as he left it. His trumpet sits on the desk. His star charts are still pinned to the walls. His telescope still points toward the window. She says she keeps it that way because when he comes home, she wants everything to be ready for him. Not if, when. She speaks at events for families of missing children. She's testified before Congress about the need for better coordination between law enforcement agencies. She's helped change laws about how missing children cases are handled across state lines. She's turned her grief into action, because action is the only thing that keeps the darkness from swallowing her whole. The veteran across the street, the one who saw the shimmer, still thinks about that day. He's 81 now. His memory is sharp. He knows what he saw. He's been interviewed dozens of times. He never changes his story. He saw something that shouldn't exist. Something that took a child and left nothing behind. The FBI keeps all 9 cases open and active. They've interviewed thousands of people, followed thousands of leads, spent millions of dollars. They have no suspects, no evidence, no explanation. Just 9 children who walked outside in broad daylight and never came home. Theories fill the void where answers should be. Some believe it's a trafficking ring operating with technology beyond anything publicly known. Others think it's something the government knows about but won't acknowledge. Some, the ones who've studied the science and the patterns most carefully, think it's something else entirely. A phenomenon, an anomaly, a glitch in the fabric of reality itself that opens and closes without warning, taking whoever happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But that wasn't the most disturbing part. What haunts investigators most is the precision. Noon. Always noon or within minutes of it. Always children between 8 and 14. Always alone. Always performing mundane tasks. Always with witnesses nearby who saw something impossible. It's too specific to be random. Too patterned to be natural. But if someone or something is choosing these children, why? What's the purpose? What's the end game? No one knows. The families meet once a year now, on the anniversary of the first disappearance. They gather in a church in Minnesota, the one the boy's family attended. They light candles. They pray. They share memories and support each other through the kind of pain that never truly heals. They refuse to let their children be forgotten. They refuse to stop fighting for answers. And every year, they issue the same plea. If you saw something strange around noon in your neighborhood, no matter how small or insignificant it seemed, report it. If your security camera malfunctioned for no reason around midday, check the footage. If you noticed anything unusual, any shimmer in the air, any electronic interference, any detail that didn't quite make sense, come forward. These families need answers. These children deserve to be found. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children keeps their cases active. Their photos are still circulated. Their families still hope. Because hope is all they have left. Hope and the stubborn belief that somewhere, somehow, their children are still alive. Still waiting to come home. Investigators would later realize that the one thing all 9 families had in common was faith. They were church-going families. Families who believed in goodness, in community, in trust. Families who let their children play outside because they thought the world was safer than it turned out to be. And now they're left with questions that faith alone can't answer. The boy's father still goes to church every Sunday. He sits in the same pew. He prays for his son's safe return. He prays for strength. He prays for answers. And he wonders, late at night, when he can't sleep, whether his son is somewhere praying too. Praying that someone will find him. Praying that he'll see his family again. There's a detail that haunts everyone who studied these cases closely. In the moments before each child disappeared, witnesses reported feeling something. A pressure in the air, a tingling sensation, a sudden silence, as if the world had stopped breathing. And then, in that pocket of stillness, the impossible happened. 9 children, 9 families, 9 mysteries that remain unsolved. If you know anything, if you've seen anything, if you have any information that could help these families, contact the FBI. The tip line is open 24 hours a day. Every call is followed up. Every piece of information matters. You could be the one who breaks this case open. You could be the one who brings these children home. Thank you for watching this story all the way to the end. These families need people like you, people who care enough to listen, to share, to keep their children's memories alive. If this story moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment telling me what you think happened, and share this video, because somewhere out there someone might have the answer we're all looking for. Somewhere a mother is still waiting by the window, still watching the driveway where her son disappeared, still believing that one day at noon, when the sun is high and the shadows are short, he'll walk back up that driveway and come home. Until then, she waits, and she hopes, and she refuses to forget, because a boy walked outside at noon and was never seen again. But his story isn't over yet.